Counselor Barbell is going to be late, so if you can start because you have Counselor Gibbs with you now.
Yep, Counselor Gibbs, start away.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order for public safety for November 24th. Roll call, please.
Counselor Gibbs?
Here.
Counselor Barbell? Mayor Reed? Counselor Brody?
Here.
Counselor Kelly?
Here.
Counselor Moore?
Here.
Counselor McFarland?
I'm here, Beth.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 1, reports from department representatives and discussion with counselors. I asked both Chief Lawless and Chief Ritter to have some COVID-19 procedures to share with us. In particular, I'm interested to know what their procedure is going to be if they have subsequently ill members of their staff, and how that will impact staffing. I know they already follow safety protocols with masks and so forth, but I want to hear from them about what their plan is going to be in the event that employees become ill, and how they will staff. So either Chief Ritter or Chief Lawless, whichever one prefers to go first.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So if you would indulge me, I don't want to get into specifics just because of the police operation sensitivity, but I will I'll try to give you the best peripheral view of what it might look like if we were to sustain a large number of infections within our staff, or if really things plummet in the city and the county and across the city and or the county, there are mass infections, and we would have to go into almost like a separate emergency mode. So there's really, and they're more general speaking, but one is let's say under 5 infections internally, and then in excess of 5. And that's just an arbitrary number, but just to kind of give you a point of what we can absorb and what we can't absorb. That number will probably change, but it has to be monitored in the moment, because really the threshold is going to be what we can absorb staffing wise by just reallocating. So I guess I'll just start there.
Okay.
So early on, back in, let's see. So it was March 7th, the Executive Order 202 was issued declaring the state disaster emergency. As of today, there have been 76 additional executive orders on that 202 executive order. So it's 202.76 as of yesterday. So every time one of those executive orders is issued, it is amending that original disaster executive order. So we pay attention to that on a daily basis, because that will affect, it'll affect our operations. So specifically within the last couple revisions, they have amended things with regard to court appearances. That's one of the biggest changes this year, is we are running virtual arraignments. I guess things are still within the court system. It's still not at a point where they can open it up for widespread public use. So we've had to use, and this has really been unprecedented in New York State, virtual arraignments. So just to give you an idea of the executive orders and the timeline that we're talking about. So about mid-April, we implemented more stringent policy based on the CDC guidelines for law enforcement, because at that time there really wasn't any data or any real cohesive scientific guidance when it comes to how to keep yourself protected and what symptoms really mattered. You know, we've kind of changed. It's almost like coffee is good for you this year, coffee's bad for you the next year. But I think over time, we've settled, at least scientifically, on some basic things that will keep us and the public safe, depending on whether the person shows symptoms or doesn't show symptoms. So from April on, we've gone very stringent, and now to more of a, at the currently what we would do, just with a little extra than the CDC guidelines for law enforcement. And that is shaped by New York State, the executive order when it comes to wearing masks just as a normal course of job, where that's not explicit, but in the best interests of the public and our officers. There are two mechanisms. There's going to be the N95 when there's a known positive or suspected positive. Absent that, regular cloth masks. So that would be.
I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
Please interject if you'd like.
No, I was just going to ask, do you have enough PPE and enough cleaning equipment? I mean, now that we're heading back into the winter months, the cases are climbing. You know, we all anticipated this would happen. Do you have enough supplies? And also my other question, and I'll ask the same thing to Chief Lawless. I know that we were hoping for, and I realize this doesn't happen immediately, but I know we were hoping for some FEMA reimbursement on this, you know, hopefully down the line. So just wanted to make sure that you're still keeping track of expenditures and hopefully get FEMA reimbursement. Is that still happening?
Yes. So I'm sure the fire chief will echo the same answer, but us internally, we monitor, we track those expenses that are related to the state of emergency. So related to COVID, and that's personnel and also PPE mostly, but there are some other categories where we do get into potential FEMA reimbursement. But so I'll answer that with this. So back during the reopening phase, when the governor started to anticipate how we were going to reopen the different regions, one of the things that we strategized was, okay, we're doing great now. It looks like numbers are manageable to a very, very low level. And us up here in the North Country, you know, we have a very, very low number versus the state. So we have on a capacity level, if we did not receive a shipment, we have 3 months worth of supplies, just because we don't burn through a lot. But because the problem back at the beginning was you couldn't find any of this stuff anywhere. So right. One of the governor's directives was anticipate that it's going to happen again and you can't get any PPE. So we have an inventory enough to sustain us for 3 months if we were to see no shipments. So thankfully, supply lines have really opened up. So I don't anticipate that, but you know, in the worst case scenario, we would still be able to remain protected for about that period of time.
Okay. Now, what about your people coming in off the street to file a complaint, or they need to come in? I mean, are you screening them before they come in?
So that's part of the reopening plan. So that would have been my notes here. So early June, with the assistance of the building inspector's office, we completed a safety plan in regards to reopening, part of the New York Forward reopening. Mm-hmm. So in there, it addresses daily screening for employees, screening, how you would potentially screen a person that would need to enter the station, depending on if they're a known contractor, an employee, a complete stranger. So kind of fall into a couple different categories. And that's also contingent on, does the person, are you unable to wear a mask? Are you unable to maintain social distancing? You know, those sort of things. But really those things are captured for contact tracing. If in the event someone found out they're positive later, we'd be able to see what the potential exposure would be, if any, for people that come in that aren't employees of the police station.
Okay. Okay. I don't think I have any other questions. Do any of the other counselors have a question for Chief Ritter? I guess that's a no. Okay, thank you. Chief Lawless?
How are we doing?
I'm good.
I don't know if you can see me. Oh, there I am.
No? There you are.
I'm learning. So I'll give you some history on the fire department, what we've gone through. We talked about PPE. Back in January, we started to get a lot of chatter in our national sites that we go to and monitor for EMS about the possible coronavirus. We started stockpiling then. So the end of January, I started stockpiling PPE. We made that decision to get ahead of this, as we have found that other instances that we've gone through, Ebola, anything else like that, that PPE can become in short supply. So being a medical provider, we needed to get ahead of that. So we did that. We got everything going. As you know, that we have two stations. We have one on South Platte and one on Cornelia Street. Part of our continuance of operation plan is to keep those two stations separate. During the summer, we allowed them to come back together for mandatory training with masks and different things. We have since separated them again, and they are on full lockdown, which means they not intermingle. If they need, Station 2 needs supplies, we put them in a basket at the back door and they can get that. We've made it so that what that does is it doesn't take an entire shift. If we to get a contact or a positive employee, it doesn't take an entire shift out. It may take 2 or 3 employees. So that's where we're really working towards trying to continue our operations if something was to happen. So I'll back it up. In March of this year, March 10th, I implemented mandatory policies on all types of screening, all types of policies, standard operating guidelines. They were all based on CDC, New York State Department of Health, Bureau of EMS. We worked with REMAC, our medical director, Tiffany Bombard. She is the chair of REMAC, which is the Regional Emergency Medical Advisory Committee. It is made up of 15 members, 13 of them being doctors. She is the chair. So all the doctors get together and they start advising what our area should do for EMS. So we utilize that also. So given that that's what we did, I implemented all these things in March. We've continued to work through them and realize which ones need to be improved. We haven't gone backwards. We've only improved them and become stricter. Due to our going into nursing homes, we have to make sure that we follow the same procedures that they do. I know that recently we had 2 positive cases in the fire department of employees. There was some misinformation out that we had 7. And when I sent something to the Press Republican, that came out that I had 7 positives. That never, at any time, did we ever have 7 positives. We had 2. But because of these procedures that we had in place, it limited exposure dramatically, that we did not need to quarantine anybody else on the shift, where one employee had been here asymptomatic. The other employee, because of our very strict pre-screening, was not eligible to work. So he never had contact with anybody in the stations. So we were able to do that, and that minimizes. So we have continued to look at those, evaluate those, and we've become even, I would hate to say, more as strict as we possibly can. All of our personnel walk around in N95s now. So they are in an N95. That way, if one in the cab was a positive, the other one could still be coming to work and would not be quarantined because they were both wearing fit tested N95s. We are going above and beyond even what New York State is requiring, just because we want to keep that continuance of operation plan in place. And we do not want to see a quarter of the department go out with a unquarantined. So
I know in the middle of all of the winter pause, March, April, May, you were taking temperatures of your employees and monitoring that. I'm assuming you're still doing that.
We still do that. We do that daily. We do that twice a day. So they get temperature at 7:40 is report time. They do their temperature. We also have in there, we found that we had one person who had to go home, do a high temperature, got home and his temperature was normal again. Through our investigation, we found out he had been drinking coffee on the way to work. And it's simple little things like that. So we had to build out another plan of how we do this so that we take multiple temperatures if somebody has one higher. And we also do one at 8 o'clock at night. So every 12 hours, they're getting a temperature check.
Wait, Chief.
Yes.
Drinking coffee on your way to work raises your temperature?
One of our guys was in the back parking lot. You have to realize he parked his car, took a sip of coffee, walked through the door. As soon as you walk through the door, you're not allowed into the station. You walk in 3 feet, you're getting your temperature checked. We don't do it with a scanner. It's an actual thermometer from a doctor's office because we found the scanners to not be as accurate as we needed. So we have very strict protocols in place for that. The guy had just had a sip of hot coffee when he walked through the door, got his temperature taken, and it spiked. It's a simple thing like that. But we had to figure out, we're trying to figure out how it happened, interviewed the man, and that's how we found out that, hey, this is what's going on. So we had to come up with a separate procedure if we get a high one, so we don't get a false positive on our temperatures. It's you got to really get into the weeds with it sometimes.
Okay, and I'm assuming you're continuing to keep track of expenses.
Absolutely.
Hope we're going to cross fingers. Hopeful
Right.
FEMA reimbursement. I mean, I know it's a long shot with FEMA. Have you heard anything from them about turnaround time for reimbursement or anything like that?
Not yet. We're still working with our representatives, and everybody's overwhelmed. There isn't a municipality in New York State or in our area that isn't looking for this and trying to get some reimbursements done. So we're going to keep working on it. We track everything. All our equipment, we track man hours, we track, we have all of our screenings, we keep everything so that we have records of everything since March 10th. So
Okay.
we're on board with that. As I said, we continue to monitor and go through things that of our procedures and all of that. And what we do when we have a positive contact, look, we had 2. We work with Clinton County Department of Health in conjunction with them and do contact tracing and help with whatever we can do inside the department, and they do everything outside.
Okay. Speaking of reimbursement, and you hear me ask this periodically, any updates on the SAFER grant? Anything to add?
I did not get anything on the SAFER grant as of yet. Continue to monitor it. I would expect it to be happening soon. I would hope it would drop before the end of the year. That's just a hope. I'm not getting any direction or any type of talk on it through other channels. Also like career chiefs. I know that there are quite a few fire chiefs in the state of New York that apply for it also.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Chief Lawless?
Yes, I do, Elizabeth. In this uptick in the COVID, how essential do you feel the second ambulance is?
Very essential if we start getting a lot of COVID cases. One of the things that you find is that our disinfection processes for an ambulance. Once we transport a patient, we have to fully decon that ambulance, which takes time, which takes that ambulance out of service. We're going to see that second ambulance start picking up more of the load, and it's an essential part of what we need.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So your cadets are all trained and working at this point, right?
Yes. So the second ambulance has been in for 3 weeks. So we've been working on that. We've utilized it several times. In fact, in the second day that it was running, we had a cardiac arrest reversal with the crew on the second ambulance. So I thought I'd let you know that also. That was a very positive thing.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have anything for Chief Lawless?
Well, not
Okay,
for,
thank you.
Elizabeth, not for him directly, but did we have any COVID cases in the police department? I would have asked that if I would have thought of that. Have we had any there yet? In the
I
police
can't
department?
answer that. I can't answer that. That would be for Chief Ritter or the mayor.
I'm
Is
not.
Chief Ritter still on the call? Can he answer? Yeah, he is. Chief Ritter, can you answer that question? Do we have any, because the rumor was going around that there was a COVID positive case in the police department. Can you answer that at all?
I'll respond the same way I did the Press Republican. I'm not going to comment on the medical status of one of our employees.
Are you permitted to send us an email to inform us of that?
I can direct that to you, Mayor, if you'd like.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Lawless or Chief Ritter? Okay, seeing none. Supervisor McMahon, do you have any department updates for us?
Hey, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Hey, obviously, I don't have the same issues as police and fire with respect to staff. We've all got our own workstations, can maintain 10 feet, and when we can't, we have a strict mask wearing policy. They have their own vehicles in the field. Nobody shares their vehicles. When there is an occasion that we do have to do an inspection in tandem, we'll drive there separately. So as far as staff and the public, we're doing a pretty good job of that. However, the public needs us to address applications with them, either deliver it, scan it, email, mail it, however, we're trying to accommodate everybody.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Supervisor McMahon? Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
That was quick. Okay. We don't have any items to move forward to the agenda, so I'll just ask, do we have any old business that we would like to discuss? I don't have any. I have neither old or new business. So is Ira on? Is he on the meeting yet?
No, yeah.
Okay. Mayor, do you have any old business that you would like to bring up for discussion?
No, we can just do one of our work groups, the usual reports and all that kind of stuff. Nothing peculiar.
Okay, well, why don't, like I said, I have no new business. So why don't I adjourn the public safety meeting and then we can have a work session?
Could I just ask one question, Elizabeth? Sorry I was late.
Oh, hey, Ira.
Here, and
Yeah, go ahead.
something came up at the last minute. But for Joe and Chief Ritter and Chief Lawless, last week we passed the false alarm, the alarm statute that dealing with false alarms, and I didn't know if who was going to be taking the lead to when a police officer or a fire department goes out on a call that turns out to be a false alarm, the mechanism to leave something, I don't want to call it a summons, but just a notice to the individual that about the new alarm law, and that they get 2 forgiven visits for if there is a false alarm, but they should contact their alarm company to make sure their alarm system is working properly. And I didn't know if Joe was taking the lead to have something like that. I have not, and I will be happy to look at a couple other cities that actually have the alarm systems to see if they have anything online as to the formats that they're using for notification.
Well, I'll be happy to work with Chief Ritter and Lawless. I would imagine it would be one of them because they would be on the front line of the call itself. Whereas, the appeals process comes through my office, and the fine and the permit, we would handle that part of it.
So is there already something like let's assume somebody gets is a violation, and they are issued some kind of ticket or whatever you want to call it, that there's a fine essentially that they owe, that they're going to have to pay. Is there anything else like that we have a system like that in any of the activities with building inspection and that type of thing?
Oh, sure. We've got all sorts of violation notices like that. I mean,
Okay.
we don't have one specific to this, but we could doctor one up really quickly.
That's what I was hoping, that there was something that would be very simple. The police and fire would have one and they would leave theirs. And if there is a third call, then somebody would leave and it would be a summons at that point, that they would have a fine that they would have to pay at your office.
Yes,
Okay.
that would come. Yeah, that would come from us. Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I just didn't know if there was going to be a difficult thing that way, or whether we already had something in line. And I think it would be great to pattern in after whatever is working for you.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
agree. You're welcome.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
I'm not sure if this quite goes in the category of public safety in your department or not, but did everybody receive the email last week from Donna Berkingler about the dam on Main Mill?
Oh, yes, I received it. And now that you said that to me, I just realized I never read it. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot all about that.
They have the category, they list the dam as unsound deficiencies recognized. And I remember one day coming up City Hall, I met with some men in the hallway by accident. They were waiting to see the mayor. And this dam has inadequate flows, which means the water goes over the top. It's not it's who's maintaining it. There's nobody maintaining it apparently. And the people that I met with that day, was purely by accident, had told me that the dam was responsible for what they figured most of the ice jams in the river, which actually what resulted in the flooding of Main Mill. And
Or Underwood Estates, I think.
was it Underwood?
Yeah.
Yes, Underwood Estates. And they sent a letter, the dam, quote unquote, due to the dam's inadequacy and spillway capacity, the condition rating is unsound, deficiency recognized. And they have a whole sheet of things around them. And I understand this dam is not doing anything anymore now that the mill's gone. And is somebody looking to take it over, or is that falling away? And do we really need this dam?
Didn't we already have a resolution to support tearing down the dam?
Yeah, that was last year, right?
No, I'm going to try to answer some of Steve's questions. Good questions, by the way.
Thank you.
So, there are two schools of thought on the dam. One is that it should be restored and lowered in height so that there's less water behind it and less collection. And you might be interested to know that, maybe 3/4 of the dam is owned by the same company that owns the Imperial Mills building, the old Imperial Mills building. The other 1/4 of the dam is owned by the DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation. And they built an earthen dam there to supplement or make larger the original dam. And they plan, they say, to build a fish ladder up the earthen side to allow the salmon to spawn.
Yeah, I've heard that. Actually, I think it
There's
was,
another group that opposes that approach and
Yeah.
believes that, as you rightfully said, the ice jams that flooded the Underwood Estates came from that
The
dam.
dam.
That's the only place on that waterway where ice can collect because it's a pretty fast moving stream, as you probably know. So two schools of thought there. One is let's restore it. The other is let's tear it down. The city council, for its part, probably about a year ago, voted unanimously in favor of tearing the bridge down, or I'm sorry, tearing the dam down. And we also were followed by, it was the town of Plattsburgh and the town of Scholar Falls who passed similar resolutions. So there's a real groundswell of support out there to remove this
The
dam.
dam.
Yes. It would cost a very, very large amount of money to restore it so that it's safe once again, and then an even larger amount of money to put it to use, such as for hydroelectric power. We could be talking in the tens of millions of dollars to do that. So there's a group called Trout Unlimited that is very much in favor of opening waterways for natural spawning grounds for trout and other species. So if you would like, I can send you some more information about the whole situation.
Well, I would just feel horrible if the dam burst this winter and people got flooded out again, and if it's unsafe, because this thing's been battling around for a while, and I was just thinking that this is kind of like public safety. I mean, the last time that they had the flooding, I think what they had determined was, if I'm remembering, of course, I only hear, I was not involved, but I heard that the Imperial Mill people had actually removed part of the earthen dam for some reason, and that's how the fault water got behind it. But either way, if the dam's a hazard to the people around it and to our community, why haven't we done anything about it?
Well,
Because I don't think we own the whole thing. I think, isn't that part of the problem? Like what you said, Mike, some of that is owned by DEC. So we don't have the sole authority to do anything about it. And right? Am I correct on that?
Right, there's actually quite a long history. DEC approached us a number of years ago wanting to tear down the dam, which we were in favor of. And we even offered to allow them to divert a lot of the sludge behind the dam into our adjoining city property as fill, so they could take care of the sludge problem as they take that dam down. We thought we had an agreement with them to do all that. And then in the meantime, Imperial Mill had approached them and tried to figure out a way for DEC and taxpayer money to essentially rebuild the entire dam, so the Imperial Mill people would not have to pay the expense of doing it. So that's where it stands right now. And this is the same group, by the way, that received about $7 million of state and city money to rebuild Imperial Mill in the first place, maybe about 10 years ago. And right after they had to rebuild $7 million or so, they turned around and sued the city to have their property value reduced to get this number, $250,000 for the entire Imperial Mill. And for some reason, the city went along with that fact. This would be about 7 years ago. So the city and the taxpayers have thrown a lot of money at Imperial Mill and is prepared to throw a lot more money at Imperial Mill to solve their dam problem, no pun intended. But in the meantime, it's rated as I think a high risk threat.
High risk hazard.
Yeah, I don't think if it broke, there'd be just loss of property. I think there'd probably be loss of life. So we're gravely concerned about it. But the DEC seems to have gone off in a different direction about a year ago, that in a way that completely baffles us. And we've had resolutions, as you heard, et cetera. So we're equally concerned about this, gravely concerned about it, but we don't seem to have anybody's ear about this.
One thought, the dam itself is on city property, correct? In the city of Plattsburgh?
No, I don't think so. It's a privately owned dam, and there's an issue about how much of the dam is privately owned by Imperial Mill and how much is privately owned by DEC.
But the
It's
location
within
of
the
the
city
dam.
of Plattsburgh, but it's
Right,
not
so-
city of Plattsburgh.
In essence, Joe might be able to answer this. If the dam has deficiencies that are jeopardizing the health and safety of the public, it seems like we should be able to at least start sending the owner of the dam fines and penalties and warnings and so forth.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure we would if that dam was threatening property in Ward 4.
Well,
The,
it did flood already once, and it did wipe out half.
I know,
The
it's
war.
terrible.
And
The
it's
state
in
put in
essence,
about $3 or $4 million in rebuilding properties in Underwood Estates recently. And it
Yes.
wasn't because of a dam failure in that case, it was because of a berm failure following the dam. There was a protective
Yeah.
berm that was removed.
but also if the dam's flowways were operating and not clogged, they could have controlled, released some of the water to keep the level down, but yet you don't have any control. It's by the pictures, it's just flowing over the top like crazy.
Right.
Now, it's not supposed to flow over the top of the dam,
Right.
if I understand it right. And it seems to me that if anything else, we could start fining and penalizing the people that own the dam. Send them a bill, send them a warning.
You
Yeah.
might be surprised to learn that the state agency responsible for dams and dam maintenance and
Yeah.
dam control and dam inspection is the DEC. So yeah, they're inspecting their own property and determining that, yes, it's good and that minor repairs will fix it, but none of us really believe that.
Well,
If you've ever stood, below that dam, you can see that it's very, very old, and as you were saying, the water flows over the top,
Yeah.
not through the spillways.
so is this Donna person? She's not DEC, she's EAP. What's EAP?
no. I think everybody
Deputy Program Emergency Response Coordinator, of the Bureau of Flood Protection and Dam Safety.
That's the federal
New York
agency.
State Department of Environmental Conservation, Bureau of Flood and Protection and Dam Safety, 4th floor.
Yeah, well, the real answer, I think, for everybody is you just get rid of the dam. It will never be a problem again.
All right. It's been a year. What's happened? I mean, this could be people's lives.
I know, we're gravely concerned.
And
I have a map at home that was, I believe it was constructed, not by the DEC, but by some other state agency that shows what damage would result if that dam breaks. And since the Saranac River flows through my ward,
yeah,
maybe a couple hundred homes in my ward could be taken out,
Yeah.
as well as numerous life loss.
what was it when we had the ice jams last winter? I think it was my property on Bridge Street. Now we're up 4 feet. The first time in 40 years, the water came over the top of the wall and we had to put sandbags down.
Wasn't that a couple of years ago, but yeah. Greatly, if you have any idea of how we can proceed, I think as Councilor Kelly said, it was a unanimous endorsement to remove the dam when that resolution came forward. And we need to do something. It's just been languishing, and this group has been seeking more public money to fix their problem. And, it's just, privatized gains. They want to keep all the profits, but socialized losses, they want us to indemnify them keep all gains, but they want us to indemnify them for all the losses. It's kind of wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Isn't that where the building inspector comes in? I mean,
Well,
if I have a fire door blocked, if I have a bad exit, if I have an exit light out, it's a violation of public safety. The bridge is a violation of public safety.
Would you like to ask me to direct the building inspector to determine what infractions are occurring there?
Yeah, and send a fine to them.
I think he's on, so be it.
I think that email points to some of the infractions, and perhaps
Yep.
we should contact that person and also partner with Trout Unlimited to just take up the banner once again. I read
Oh, you read it?
Yes, I did. So let's do that. Let's
Yeah.
make that a goal.
I mean, I would feel horrible if that dam broke and we sat here and just, and even though I'm only here for another 5 weeks, that I didn't at least say, Is anybody read this?
Well, Underwood Estates
So
feels
Steve-
terrible every day is looming over their head, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, imagine how they feel. It's terrible.
So
We're waiting.
maybe this is something that should be referred to our building inspector and John Ruff for them to discuss and maybe some way.
Good idea.
I think a discussion should happen first before we direct anybody to start fining. You know what I mean? Like, I think maybe Joe and John should maybe collaborate and take a look at it and maybe report back to us. What does the council think about that?
Right, we're in no position to tell anybody to fine anybody. All we can do is ask them to investigate, correct?
I'd find them anyways.
Any other new business? Did you complete your adjournment, Councillor Gibbs?
No, I did not adjourn. I was going to adjourn and then Steve asked some questions. So I don't have any new business, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Yep.
Okay, roll call.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Barbell,
Yes.
Mayor Reed,
yes. I think in our work session then, and probably have enough time to at least do our committee reports and then begin the regular session in just a few moments. Let's begin your routine reports in your packet. Let's begin with governance strategy and city operations, Councilor Barbell.
Yeah, nothing to report at this time.
City infrastructure, Councilor Moore.
Well, we're working on our budget resolution. So that's where we're at. We're trying to finalize a proposal.
Finance and budget, Councilor Kelly.
Nothing to add at this time.
Public safety, Councilor Gibbs.
Well, we just had our regular public safety meeting. I have the resolutions written for police, fire, and code enforcement, building inspector for, I presume we will have a vote next week on the updated budget and changes. So I was hoping we could spend some time at some point in the council meeting today is discussing anything that needs to be discussed, or if, I'm sorry I couldn't make the meeting yesterday. You all know that I couldn't be there. Had something emergency come up at the last minute. So I'm hoping that we can spend some time at some point later in this meeting deciding what the next steps are and what happens next.
Okay, Plattsburgh Public Library, Councilor McFarland.
No updates at this time.
And MLD Board President, Councilor McFarland.
Also no updates at this time.
And so I think it's just about time then to begin the common council meeting tonight. We'll begin tonight with Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Reed,
Present.
Counselor Barbell. Counselor Barbell, we can't hear you.
Here.
Yep.
Counselor Kelly,
Here.
Counselor Gibbs,
Here.
Counselor Brody,
Here.
Counselor McFarland,
If.
Counselor Moore,
Here,
Couple of items. One, we had the rollout this morning at 8 a.m. for the reduced traffic in City Hall. Need to make sure the public carefully understands this is not a closing of City Hall. As a matter of fact, there's members of the public here tonight. But it is a lessening of traffic to only essential people who need to do business within City Hall, can't do it through appointments, through electronic means, et cetera. And it appears so far that it's working. Of course, we had all the protocols already established when we put that in place a number of months ago, back in March 16th of this year. So hopefully it'll continue to work well. We certainly know that things are accelerating in Clinton County. We had another 11 cases in Clinton County today. Multiply 11 cases by 7 days, that's 77 cases per week, which puts us into the threshold of 100 cases per 100,000 population per week, which is the red zone definition. So days like this are consistent with that red zone definition. And we've seen it either stay high or accelerating. It certainly hasn't abated. We don't expect it to abate. we believe that actually the number of cases in that actually are within the city is probably representatively higher share than that, because our population of 20,000, we probably have more than a quarter of the shares, or I imagine we have more than a quarter of the shares for Clinton County, be given all amount of commerce and congestion within the city, but I don't have those numbers. I say that because we know that things are accelerating everywhere. A local major bank has started closing its lobby doors effective tomorrow. As you know, SUNY Plattsburgh has sent all their students home. The school district has sent their students home. Hospitals already got very strict protocols. I don't know what Clinton County government is doing yet, but everybody recognizes this is accelerating, and we're doing our best, not so much to try to protect people from COVID, but to try to prevent the spread of COVID. Is our entire focus, is preventing the spread. And the way we prevent the spread is by reducing the number of interactions with different people from outside the household on a given day. So we have X number of interactions per day by people coming down and going to the finance office. That we can reduce that by having them do it online somehow. That's going to help slow down and prevent the spread. We're also trying to accommodate within City Hall any special needs. We've got all of our employees separated by not 6 feet now, but 10 feet, and wearing masks at all times when they're in City Hall. Unless they're in an office alone. We're creating isolated offices for those that may need to work isolated because of any sort of health condition, etc. So we're doing everything we can to protect, but this is really about preventing spread that we're working primarily on. And that's why we're not simply doing a lockdown. The lockdown is to protect and prevent spread. This is primarily just to prevent spread. And it'll be difficult to know when to stop doing this if we don't have individual information just for the city of Plattsburgh. It's obviously we're going up the hill, and then we still have to come back down the hill. And at that point, when we're back down the hill enough to resume normal operations, I won't know when that will be without that data, but we can imagine it's not going to be in the next 4 to 6 weeks. This is probably going to be January, February, or March timeline when we march down the other side of that hill. So we're all planning on this being somewhat indefinite. It could easily last 2 to 3 months. We just don't know that yet. It could last longer. Obviously, we're all looking forward to a vaccine, but you've all heard that as much good news there is on the vaccine front, that won't be really available to the public until probably the spring or the summer. And even then, it then still takes some time to build up immunities, herd immunity, to get enough people to take the vaccine. So it makes a difference in slowing down the spread. So we're at a pretty long slog. I wouldn't be surprised if we're in some sort of different new normal all the way through next year, maybe partly into the following year. And maybe we never exactly get back to the old normal again. Who knows? But we're coping with it. There's no reduction at all in services. We're simply delivering our services in a different way that tries to preserve or prevent people from coming in contact with each other. I'll keep you posted. I don't expect that we're going to have to move to more stringent practices like lockdowns or sending people home, etc. At least not until the state announces they're going to do something likewise. And I haven't heard any inkling of that yet. I'll certainly keep you posted as I regularly do with my daily or weekly updates to you all. So that's where that stands. Each year at this time, we have a proclamation for our city businesses that are really hurting right now. Whereas the government of the city of Plattsburgh, New York celebrates our local small businesses and the contribution they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 30.7 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all firms with paid employees in the United States, are responsible for 64.9% of net new jobs and created from 2000 to 2018. Whereas small businesses employ 47.3% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, 62% of U.S. small businesses reported that they need to see consumer spending return to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2020 in order to stay in business. 65% of U.S. small business owners say it would be most helpful for the business to have their regulars return and start making purchases again and 3/4 of U.S. consumers are currently looking for ways to shop small and support the community. Whereas our local shops have discovered myriad ways to serve the public while still protecting the public from the spread of COVID, such as through personalized deliveries, telephone orders, curbside pickup, and individualized customer support, all the while as major online retailers are experiencing dramatic increases in their profits while doing nothing more to cater to their customers. Whereas 96% of consumers who shop on Small Business Saturday agree that shopping at small independent-owned businesses supports their commitment to make purchases that have a positive social, economic, and environmental impact. And 97% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday agree that small businesses are essential to their community. And whereas 95% of consumers who shopped on Small Business Saturday reported the day makes them want to shop or eat at small, independently owned businesses all year long, not just through the holiday season. And whereas the city of Plattsburgh, New York supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed this Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday, now therefore I, Mayor Colin Reed, Mayor of the City of Plattsburgh, New York, proclaim November 28, 2020 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents of our community and communities across the state to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year in a way that keeps us safe from the spread of COVID. So they're hurting. We'll need to redouble our efforts as best we can. We recognize that if they represent 64.9% of net new jobs, 2000 to 2018 currently, we see that on the decline. Their restaurants are having a terrible time. So please cater to our small businesses, take advantage of the many innovative things they're doing, like deliveries, like curbside pickup, like working with you in the telephone. You can't do that with the large internet providers who are raking in the lion's share of business these days and leaving our local businesses high and dry. So I think that's all I have for our mayor's comments today. Please continue.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on November 19th, 2020 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councillor Brody and second by Councillor Kelly. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending November 25th, 2020 in the amount of $86,546.81 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
By Councillor Moore, second by Councillor Brody. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Are there any additional committee reports you'd like to make at this time? Seeing none, resolve the reports as listed are hereby ordered received, and the written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office. Moved by Councillor Gibbs and second by Councillor Kelly. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. No recommendations or correspondences from boards at this time. Please continue.
Resolved that the bills audited by the Common Council for the week ending November 27th, 2020 in the amount of $1,197,472.15 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councillor Moore, second by Councillor Gibbs. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Given that there's no real items on the agenda tonight, formal items, I guess that means there's no individuals that would like to address the council on agenda items, but I'll open it up for public comment on agenda items only anyway, just in case I'm misinterpreting this. And if you're in the Zoom, please raise your hand to have the moderator recognize you.
There are no people raising their hands currently.
Okay, thank you. No other items, no travel requests. Are there any items for initial consideration?
That be a part of the dam and looking at it.
Normally, this be in the form of a resolution. If you want to give the sketch of a resolution you'd like to introduce next week, you could do that, then more formally develop the resolution over the week.
Okay.
And also bring it up again in new business.
Okay.
Next item.
Okay, new business and councilor reports, please. Councilor Gibbs?
I just wanted to, maybe we could decide what is our next steps in order to be ready to cast a vote for next week, which is, I think, the date that we had all agreed on would be the day. I know that John Ruff had sent us a list of concerns, and I know there was a budget workshop Monday, so I thought it would be really important for all of us to have, like all be on the same page about what happens next, and so forth.
Well, what we had kind of agreed to at last night's meeting is that we were going to reduce these things to writing and present them to the council before the meeting so that everyone would have a chance to review them.
Okay, so that will be next Thursday we're going to do all this, or what was the decision, Jen?
If you planned on bringing it to the Thursday meeting, that we would have it in writing and present it either Monday or Tuesday so that everyone would be able to see it and go over them.
By email or in person? I'm confused.
Well, have what our resolutions from committees were going to be and put it in writing so that everyone would be able to look at them.
Okay, so to share those by email, Jeff, is that what you mean?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Okay.
Aren't all those things, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't all those things already in writing in that new budget that Richard sent out that had all the iterations of the budget, the 2019 budget, the June 2020 budget, the October 2020 mayor's budget, and then the recommendations from the committees are put in at the there as well. So right, all that stuff's there. So I guess we can next Thursday discuss it.
In order for us to pass or modify the mayor's budget, it has to be done in the form of resolutions. So there will be resolutions on the agenda next week to modify the budget, and we will vote either yes or no on those resolutions. So what Jeff is saying is prepare a resolution if you want something changed in the mayor's budget. Or if you want many things changed, prepare many resolutions, and we will vote on each of those individually next week.
Could you not just simply adopt Chamberlain's budget?
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking. We could discuss it and choose which ones to adopt or thing, and then we could have a resolution.
That's why you have resolutions, and that's why they're separate, so that you can discuss them and either adopt or deny them. Or I suppose if we had unanimity on the Chamberlain's budget, then we could vote on that too.
I vote that we go for that.
That might be simpler. You just maybe need to have some extra time for another work session before the council meeting to get that unanimity. I don't encourage you to try to develop that through email, because it's really going to violate open meetings law to try to sway each other into different opinions on things in email. That's just substituting email for open discussions that should occur. But you can certainly send out your proposals by email, but hold the discussions on items until you actually can meet. So I just would recommend you have another work session to hammer out any details on it, so then you can present one resolution that you already by then agree upon.
We can do that also.
I like that idea. Let's have one more budget. I know me, Mike, and Elizabeth missed yesterday's. And Steve, I forget your schedule. You can't do Saturdays or Sundays, right? But any other time of the week works?
Well, in 2 weeks I can do a Saturday, but
Well, how about Monday, November 30th?
Or how about Friday? I don't know what people's family plans are and stuff like that, but I don't have court or anything on Friday.
No, I'm not available Friday.
Okay.
What about Monday, the 30th? At 3 o'clock? Hopefully I won't have a family emergency.
Well, I could meet then.
I'll make it work.
Okay. So why don't, Richard, I see that you're on the call. Is that something you can work into your schedule as well?
Yes, Monday, 3 o'clock. I'll definitely be here.
All right, that sounds great.
Patrick and Ira, would you be able to make it?
Yes, I can make it.
Patrick?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
Are we saying 3 o'clock? Is that what we're aiming for?
Monday at 3 o'clock. Are we meeting in person at the council chambers? Don't all speak
I
at
think,
once.
yeah, I think that's what we just agreed on.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
I may be slightly late for that, but it's really your budget at this point, so I don't think my participation is critical, but I may be a little bit late for that.
My question is, which budget are we looking at? You have the,
I think he's got a column there called the 2021 council budget, doesn't he?
yeah, is
That's
that the
right.
column we're
One
looking
you're
at?
working on at this point. So it's your
Yeah.
budget.
It's on the far right, Steve, that far right column of the document that Richard gave us.
It's
It
noticed.
says 2021 council budget. That's what we're going to be working with.
Okay.
All right, perfect.
All right. Any other discussion on that item? Or any other new business or council reports? I did ask you and send to you a request from the Public Safety Citizen Review Panel. I think they're soliciting a couple of nominations from you, just inquiring whether anybody got back to that panel or not.
Well, those have been going through governance, strategy, and operation, which meets next week. We got that request from a person on the panel, and I think we had some conversation about it. But we don't really have we don't have a chair, and I'm not serving on that committee anymore. So what does the council want to do about communication back and forth with the panel about we had two people who we were going to advance, and then we decided not to, but I don't know if those people are still interested or able at this point. So I don't know what the council wants to do about communicating and coordinating that. I have no problem advancing the two names, but I don't know if they're available or interested at this point. So what is the council's thoughts?
Is Chief Ritter still on the line?
Yes.
Chief, is the panel meeting this coming Monday? I know I told you I would attend the last one, but we had that budget thing and we didn't get done until.
Right. So I do have it on my calendar. It starts at 4 p.m. So that's.
Ritter, I think they're trying to move more towards Zoom for fear of COVID as well. Would you be able to figure out how to facilitate the Zoom thing with them? Because we have no way of doing that, and it's after hours for Beth. So if you can figure out some resource to allow them to do Zoom, I'm sure they'd greatly appreciate it.
I believe they took it upon themselves to do that.
Excellent, thanks.
Well, if they're meeting next Monday, I looked at all those resumes. I don't know any of those people personally, or I haven't interviewed any of them or talked to any of them, but they all looked pretty qualified. Although it was a while ago when I looked at them, so I don't recall. I don't have any of them here, but I do remember that, as Elizabeth said, there was two people put forth.
Yeah, there were. And one of them I had actually, I don't know personally, but I had spent quite a bit of time actually locating somebody interested. And she expressed interest, and I got a very high review from some people who know her, but the decision was made not to fill that, and I don't know if she's still interested. I guess what I'm saying is we don't really have a direct connection to the panel, or and I don't know how we want to do that. Who's going to reach out to them and engage their interest? I mean, the original plan was all recommendations would go through, all approvals would go through the governance, strategy, and operations. So that's Ira and Steve. I don't know if you guys want to reach out to the two people that we were going to put on a few months ago and decided not to. That would be my recommendation.
I'm more than willing to reach out to the two of them, since I sent them a letter apologizing for that we didn't move forward on that. But we have, I believe it was 3 additional ones that were suggested or responded to express their interest to serve as well. So you know, I can look at all. I think we have 5 people now that are interested. None of which I've met or know. So all I can do is look at the resumes of those individuals. And as I recall reading them, I don't have it in front of me either. A couple of them have been attending the meetings quite frequently. So they're kind of up to speed on this. So I'll be glad to take this and try to get something together so that perhaps next week's meeting we can put this forward, and I will circulate the emails or I will look for my emails and forward them to you so you have them. But I will look and see what I would recommend and see if any of you know any of the other individuals personally that could make a more personal recommendation about their abilities and interests. So
well, perfect. Ira, I'll look through those resumes again, and if you want, I can reach out to some people too, and talk to them, see and gauge interest. Obviously, if they send something in, they're probably interested. But I'm thinking if we're meeting Monday at 3 anyways, we could have a special meeting. And the reason I wanted to know if they were meeting Monday is it might behoove us to have a special meeting right at the beginning of that meeting at 3 o'clock. And to appoint them so they can participate in the 4 o'clock.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, I think.
Well, I don't think we actually appoint the members. They're just looking at us to decide who it wants. So can we just delegate that to the government ops or governance committee to determine who they want to put forward, unless you all want to have a say in it?
Well, I think it requires a council vote to put them on the panel now.
Yeah, it does.
So. No, they were planning to self-nominate for a little while. But then
No, they decided, that panel, when I was still serving, they decided they did not want to self-nominate. We had brought that up as a suggestion to them, and the panel decided they did not want to self-nominate. So It's going back through the council.
Well, let's look into it, and and I'll be in touch. I'll reach out to Ira, and if we want to put people up, we can do it. We can contact Beth to appoint them on Monday before we start the budget discussions. It sounds like a good idea.
Whether we need to announce a special meeting or not. If we
that's what we can reach out to Beth by Friday, or Beth.
Well, Patrick, that complicates the meeting quite a bit. If we wait till Thursday, that would be much better, because then we have to set up for us all to meet. It would take time away from our budget workshop. We really need to wrap that up. So I don't think it's a big thing to wait, 3 more days and take it up at the regular meeting. I don't think it's important enough to do a special meeting. That's just my opinion.
City Hall's closed from after tomorrow for Thursday and Friday, so.
Yeah.
That makes sense too. So whatever.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, we'll look through them, and if I'm sure we can all reach out to each other.
I will get something to all of you ahead of time, though.
Yeah.
I have other new business or council reports.
A couple of questions. One, I was just curious what our head count was on Zoom. I heard you say there's a monitor, or
Correct.
how many general public do we have on Zoom?
Ethan, how many people are participating beyond the people we see here?
At peak, there was 3, but people hop in and off. Currently, there's 1 individual.
Counselor. All right. And second, is this the part where we talk more about the dam and want to see what we can do and coordinate with the people, because safety of the public. So do we make a resolution that we ask the building inspector and the water and sewer, Mr. Rupp, to look at the dam and see what we can do to facilitate the necessary repairs for public safety, or look into ways to motivate the owners of the dam to start taking care of it properly, or fine the people for not taking care of their dam?
Well, you can do some, I mean, I can direct Mr. Ruff and Mr. McMahon to look into it and investigate it. If they determine that fines are appropriate, they can do that. A resolution may be more of a policy statement for what the sense of the council is from a policy perspective. Very much like the resolution they passed about a year ago that it was the sense of the council to remove the dam. So if you want to make some sort of statement like that, that can be put into a resolution.
Okay.
You wouldn't make a statement in a resolution to direct me to do something because they've already been directed to do that.
All right. So
I
first
think- I'm sorry. I think it would be a better course of action to just ask the mayor to ask John and Joe to collaborate on looking at it, investigating, and then report back to us. I think that would be a more appropriate course of action, just to get them to look at it and then report back to us. And so we can ask the mayor to direct them. We can't direct the department heads to do things. But I think
We also can't direct the DEC to do anything about that dam. It's their authority. I mean,
let's fine them.
we can
They're good
have
at giving
lots of
out fines.
resolutions. I think the thing we should perhaps do is meet with the person who sent that email and just let that person know that we as city officials are interested in making sure that the proper decisions are made on that dam. And I think that person will probably listen to us.
And then in 2 weeks' time, we can have a report to the infrastructure committee on what they've discovered.
yeah, I think that would be a really good idea.
Yeah, Steve, let me give you a little update because I attended both of these meetings. A year and a half ago, DEC came in and collected our thoughts on it. And the council wanted to tear the dam down. That was our best solution. This past year, we met with them again, and they did a complete about face and said, well, no, we don't want to tear the dam down. We want to just repair it, which at a great cost besides. So we need to express again, I think, our concern that the best course of action is to just get rid of the dam and never worry about it again, because it's going to create ice to go downstream year after year after year. And sooner or later, we're going to flood something out again.
And who's not maintenance? Who's supposed to take care of it? And who's gonna?
Well, see, the DEC has control over almost all of that. And I think we need to reiterate that we want to eliminate the problem.
Do you want to reintroduce the resolution again and see if we could send the resolution to you, see if you want any modifications as a previous council, so you can reiterate that resolution at this time if you wish.
My next question is, why hasn't anything happened in the last year? I mean, if it was last year's resolution and this is a year later.
I've been dealing with this for 4 years now. It's very hard
Really?
to get the DEC they were absolutely determined to do one thing. And the next thing you know, they're absolutely determined to throw a bunch of money at a private landlord to do a completely opposite thing. So we don't know what happened in the interim.
One of the things that I would suggest is, since we now have this letter to us, that we could send a letter from the council and the mayor to the DEC expressing our concern that this letter is laying out severe problems that could endanger property and lives in the city of Plattsburgh. And we would like a response from them to put them on notice that we're concerned about this. And this letter, seems to indicate that dam is not safe, and ask them to get back to us with a response to ensure the safety of people of Plattsburgh.
A good idea. How about if we do that in combination with a reiteration of the resolution and then expect a response from them? So we'll send you the previous resolution.
Okay,
You all can take a look at it and see how you want to proceed. You can consider this as a resolution for initial consideration to have us look at it again. Then either we meet next week to do that, or in 2 weeks at infrastructure. You can even have a mini hearing to hear the results that Mr. Ruff and Mr.
Okay.
Mann can add to it. And then you might want to then do a resolution from there. But either way, we'll send you the resolution around.
I like that.
Okay?
And my last thing was, of course, we're facing at the end of the year. And I still remember my first meeting here where the tax assessor for the county stood here and said that he was going to be reassessing all commercial businesses and all commercial property in the city of Plattsburgh for 2021. And we had sent them a letter protesting it. Did they ever respond?
Protesting.
We were going to ask them not to reassess the property because of COVID-19, that it was unfair to the commercial property owners who are in strife to begin with to potentially raise their taxes, and that there should be a tax freeze on their property or something. And I still think that's something we should be after, because this thing's coming back.
I think other communities have done that. Yeah, no, we didn't receive response. And actually, the legislator that oversees that division was here at the same time when you made that request. So maybe you should reiterate that with him, that you'd like a response.
Is that the mayor pro tem?
No,
No?
that was, well, that's the county legislator who is the liaison for that assessor's office. So
who do we talk to? Who would it be then? And what do we do?
who is that person that
Yeah.
we're referring to? It's Mayor-elect Chris Rosenquist.
All right, so
But while he's still county legislator, we can still talk to him about this.
so we can send him a letter again? Will he respond this time? He didn't respond to our letter?
No.
Our mayor pro-elect didn't respond to our letter.
Actually, I think you verbally asked him that because he was here.
He was here,
Yeah, I remember song and
And
dance.
recall, he did respond to our questions at that.
Yeah, he said it was the state's job.
But I will say that commercial reassessments is something that hasn't been done in the city in many, many years. And my understanding is that the county assessor's office does not do commercial reassessments or commercial assessments. That has to be contracted with an outside party. And to have all of the city's commercial properties assessed, I am told, would cost roughly $500,000. But it hasn't been done in many, many years.
I thought it was only 3 years. I thought every 3 years or 5 years.
No, the assessor looked at it and said that this stuff is so out of whack that we really need to do a system-wide, complete, accurate reassessment of all commercial properties. We actually went out and got a quote for a company that is willing to do that for us, actually in putting on RFP. We do have funding for it. The Financial Restructuring Board recognized that our assessments are out of whack. I'm not saying it's because they're too high or too low, they're just not systematic. We haven't followed good practices in calculating them. So once that's recalculated accurately, then the assessor's office is in a better position to start adjusting them every year. But he just looked at it and go, well, what a mess. How do I even start at this? So that's where we're at. We would have to invest the money to have it essentially modernized. And once it's modernized, it's easier to maintain. It's all computerized, etc.
We were also talking about bringing the assessors back to our end of the street rather than up the street too.
So that was
As
a
a
thought,
cost savings.
especially this year after they increased their fee to us by, I think, $25,000 over last year. So at some point, it starts to make sense, maybe, if they continue in that trajectory, to bring those services back in-house. But I'd like to talk with them and see, why they feel a need to increase their fees so much every year.
They want to increase their general fund.
At the time, when we did this, back in 2018, it seemed like a really, really smart thing to do because we did save a significant amount of money. But each year, that significant amount of money seems to erode as they increase their prices. So it's something we need to investigate and check with them about.
I think you raised that with the legislator as well, didn't you, when you had him in?
Yes, and he explained, well, the more municipalities that sign up for county assessments, the less they can then charge us, but that doesn't help us today. That helps perhaps in the future. And he said at the time there were 6 municipalities in the county that are using the county assessor's office. So,
Out of how many?
maybe that number should be doubled before we realize any
Saving.
saving.
And the last thing I was made an observation of was we were talking about, go back to your idea about the one-stop shop. And one of the fallbacks I see with it is that Plattsburgh, the city hall, doesn't have the space. Then I was listening the other day, if I correct me wrong, when you were saying that the old MLD building was being revamped so that they could have a drive-through cashier or window.
I asked the question of whether it would be possible, if necessary, to
All right.
move back there.
That might be a better one-stop location.
Well, doesn't your space for a one-stop shop depend on how many customers you feel you're going to need to deal with? If you had systems that some of you talked about, where you take certain transactions on certain days of the week, and other transactions other days of the week, but still move more things offline or online instead, you can still have a window. Maybe one window or one office is used for clerk kind of functions for mornings, and then finance kind of functions in afternoons, etc. I don't agree that there's not. What I'm saying is I don't agree there's not enough space. We have 3 offices that have all been set up with glass windows and all that kind of stuff within City Hall as well, and another office only half a block away. So surely we have enough space. It might be an issue of how we segment the day, throughout the day to use that space.
Well, I just looked at that building, so that's a nice big flat ground floor space with a parking lot in the back.
Well, MLD is hoping that an entity like the LDC can market that on their behalf next year. It is their building, actually. But it has been a wasted resource just sitting there depreciating over the last couple of years as we await a plan to market it effectively. Any other items?
Just one final item. I want to wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yeah, please stay safe.
Could I ask one question?
Yes.
Ask away.
We have an estimate that we can get back into the 6 Miller Street drive-up window probably by sometime next week. Are we supposed to go through with that or just hold on until it's necessary? Probably going to cost, worst case, around $5,000 to restring a fiber link and put the network back in place over there.
I think we're only one day into this. Maybe just see how it goes for a little while. We did it without it last time for 3 months, so I'm not sure if we have enough information, but it is good to be prepared if necessary.
Okay.
Dropbox is nice.
Yeah, certainly keep the Dropbox because that allows people to do cash transactions.
Yeah. All right, I'll put the IT fellows on hold at this point and then just wait to hear because they have a list of exactly what they need to do and the space is still available over there and the drive-up window drawer still works. So we're ready to do that at any point in time you say go.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Moved by Councillor Moore, second by Councillor Kelly. Roll call.
Councillor Barbell?
Don't we need the public comment just real quick to ask if there's anyone who wants to give public comment?
Did we not do that? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think you're correct. Is there any members of the public would like to please come address the council? Anybody by Zoom?
Currently, no one is raising their hand in Zoom.
Okay. Thanks for that reminder, Councilor McFarland. Roll call.
Counselor Barbell,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yeah.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Brody,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland,
Yes.
Counselor Moore,
Yes,
Thank you, everybody. Please do stay
Happy
safe.
Thanksgiving, everyone.